Okay, today we're going to take a look at KK.2, mean, median, mode, and range. Okay, so what the mean, median, and mode are their measures of central tendency. Now they're all just a little bit different. The mode is the number that appears most often in a set of data. So this here is a data set. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items in this data set, 6 numbers. So the mode is the number that appears most often. Now when I have a -10, a -10, a -7, a -10, a -4, and a -4. You can see that the -10 appears 3 times. So if I'm going to make a little checklist here on the side, for mode, I could say, well, the mode, well, that's the number that appears most often. Okay, so there's the definition of mode, the number that appears most often. People like to remember mode by most. You think of which number appears most often, well, then that's the mode. So if I want to make a little checklist here, -10, that appeared 3 times. And I had a -4. Let me make a little -4, that appeared 2 times. And finally, I had a -7, which appeared just 1 time. So which one appeared the most often? Well, the -10 appeared 3 times, which was the most often. So for the mode of this data set, we're going to say that's -10. Okay, what is the median? So again, let's start with the definition of the median. So the mode was the number that occurred most often. When we think about the median, the definition that we want to say is it's the middle number in an ordered list of data. So for the definition of median, we have the middle number in an ordered list of data. Okay, now it's very important that the list is ordered. So you can't just look at this and say, oh, what's the middle number of this data set? First, you have to put them in order. When you put them in order, you want to put them in order from least to greatest. Now this data set has 6 numbers in it. So we want to find out the smallest number first. We're looking at this data list. I see that my smallest number is a -8. Okay, so I use that one. Next, I see that -4 is the smallest. So far, they're in order. But now here, 7 is not the next smallest. -3 is. So I need to put -3. Then I have 5. Then I have 7. And then finally, I have an 8. Okay, the middle number. Now, there's an even number of data items here. There's 6 data items. So when you're finding the middle number, look at what happens. Some teachers like to teach this method of kind of crossing out. I usually do some kind of check mark system. That -8 and that 8. Okay, we're trying to work our way toward the middle. This -4 goes along with that 7. Now, I have a -3 and a 5. Well, there's no one middle number. There's actually 2 middle numbers. I can't cross out both of those. Nothing would be left. So anytime that you have an even number of data items and you're looking to find the median, you have to take the average of the two middle numbers. So how do I take an average of two numbers? To take the average of two numbers, you add up those two numbers and you divide by 2. Okay, to take the average of two numbers, you add the two numbers and divide by 2. -3 plus +5, well, that gives me a +2 divided by 2. And then 2 divided by 2 is 1. So the median of this data set is actually 1, which wasn't even one of the original data items. So what is the median? 1. Okay, next we have what is the range? Now the range is not one of the measures of central tendency. Okay, the range is a measure of how spread out the data is. Okay, the way to find it is to look for the maximum data item and look for the minimum data item, and then we're going to subtract maximum minus minimum. Or in other words, the largest minus the smallest. So which one here is my largest data item? Well, I have a -8, -8, -1, -7, 0, -1, -2, and -6. Well, I have a lot of negative numbers here. 0 is actually our largest value. 0 right here is our maximum value. And our smallest value looks like a -8. -8 is our minimum value. So again, the range, I didn't actually write down the definition, so I'm going to write that down for you now. The range, the way to calculate it is it's the maximum value minus the minimum value. Okay, and again, what the range is used for, let's say the range is a measure used to look at the spread of data. Okay, how far apart is the data? That's what the word spread means. So for this problem, for the range, I want to say, well, the range is 0 minus a -8. 0 minus -8. Well, look at what happens when you have 0 minus a -8. 0 minus a negative becomes plus 8. 0 plus 8 is just +8. So the range of this data set is 8. Okay, let's take a look at this problem. Now, you may have seen this before in middle school. You may have forgotten what it is. Okay, this here is often called a dot plot. A lot of times you'll see them with actual dots above the number line. This one here has X's instead, but typically they call these dot plots. Okay, so for this one here, each of these dots represents a piece of data. So it says a science teacher asked her students how many times they went to the science museum last year. Trips to the science museum last year. So number of trips, where it has an X above the 3, that means that 3 is in this data set. So if we were to actually write out all of this data, it would look like this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 threes. So if I were to write out all this data, it would look like 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. There's 6 threes. If I were to count how many 5s there are, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So next I would have 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And finally, I have one data item of a 6. So if I were to actually write out all the data, it would look like that. But it's not actually necessary to do that for this problem. It says, what is the mode of the numbers? Well, we've done the mode. The mode is the number that appears most often. And what we said was that the number 3, this number here, that occurred 6 times. And the number 5, well, that occurred 7 times. And then finally, the number 6, that just occurred 1 time. So which number appeared most often? Well, the 5 appeared most often because it appeared 7 times. 5. Okay, let's take a look at this one. It says the town council reported on how many stop signs there are on each street. So, once again, you can list out all the data, but it's not going to be necessary, especially for a problem like this, which is going to have a lot of data. So for this one here, we see that Irving Street, well, that had 2 stop signs. Mason Street had 2 stop signs. Smith Street, 2 stop signs. Peabody Street had 9 stop signs. And Walker Street had 9 stop signs. The town council reported on how many stop signs there are on each street. What is the mode of the numbers? Okay, so I actually listed them out already, but I'm just going to list them horizontally as well. 2, 2, 2, 9, 9. So what is the mode of the numbers? Well, which number appears most often? The 2 appears 3 times, and the 9 appears 2 times. So the 2 appears the most. Okay, we finally have a question that's asking about what is the mean. Okay, now the mean, another word for mean is the word average. Okay, so when you want to find out, hey, what's my grade in class? The way that your teachers calculate your grade is by taking the average, by taking the mean of all the numbers. Now, the way that you take the average is you add up all the numbers and divide by the number of items. So it says Brad kept a written log of how many miles he biked during the last 6 days. So we have Saturday, he biked 6 miles. Sunday, he biked 7 miles. Monday, he biked 7 miles. Tuesday, he biked 9 miles. Wednesday, he biked 9 miles. And Thursday, he biked 4 miles. So we have 6 pieces of data here. So in order to find the mean or the average, you add up all the numbers. So again, the mean is the average. And the way to calculate the average is add up all the numbers and divide by the number of items. So for this problem here, I have 6 plus 7 plus 7 plus 9 plus 9 plus 4. First, I'm going to add up all those numbers. I'm going to use my calculator. 6 plus 7 plus 7 plus 9 plus 9 plus 4, I get 42. And now I have to divide by the number of items. Well, that's how many numbers I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 42 divided by 6 equals 7. So what is the mean of the numbers? It's 7. Okay, I'll do one of these with you. It says, what is the range of the numbers? Well, again, the range is the maximum minus the minimum. So I see that my maximum number here is 5. My minimum number is 0. So the max minus the minimum. So my range for this problem is just 5. Okay, again, we have another range problem. I just showed you how to do that one. So I'm just going to skip ahead to see if they get a little bit harder. Okay, something like this does get a little bit harder for you. It says Bell has the following data. And it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 data items. It says if the range is 6, which number could Y be? Okay, so remember the range is the maximum minus the minimum. So let's see what we have so far. I see that from this data set, without including the value of Y, I see that my lowest value right now, my low or my minimum, is 38. And I see that my maximum right now is a 44. My high or my maximum is a 44. So it says if the range is 6, which number could Y be? Well, right now, if you find the range of this data set, I have 44 minus 38, which gives me 6, which is what the range of this data set is. Now, to answer this question, which number could Y be? Well, if Y were 38, then my range would still be 6, because it would be 44 minus 38, and I would get 6. If Y were 53, if I said, oh, let me say that Y is 53, well, then my maximum value would be 53, because that would be higher than any of these other numbers in the data set. And then my minimum value would still be 38, because there was a 38 actually in the data set. So if that were true, then 53 minus 38, doing this operation down here, well, then that would give me 15. And the range of this problem was not 15, it was 6. So which number could Y be? The answer is 38. Okay, let's try one like this. Krista has the following data. If the mean is 36, which number could you be? Okay, so let's take a look at this one. So adding up all of this data, I get 37 plus 37 plus 46 plus 30, 37 plus 37 plus 46 plus 30. I get 150. Okay, those are for those 4 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it says if the mean is 36. Now, I know that I'm going to divide this data by 5 because there's 5 total numbers. And I want to add something, whatever the value of u is. But I know that 150, which is the 4 numbers that I already have, plus some other value, divided by 5, is going to give me an average of 36. Now, one method would be just to guess and check and just say, well, is U 15? Let me add 150 plus 15. I get 165. 165 divided by 5 is 33. So 15 is too low. I know that the number has to be bigger. So it must be 30. Let's see, 150 plus 30 gives me 180. 180 divided by 5 gives me 36. So the answer is 30. You can guess and check because this is kind of like multiple choice with just two possible answers. However, you could also solve this like you would an equation and get your answer that way. To solve this equation, you would multiply each side by 5 to get rid of the denominator. That would give you 150 plus u equals 180. And then you could subtract each side from subtract 150 from each side. And that would give you u equals 30. So that's a way that you could actually solve these problems. Okay, this is an example with the median. So again, the median is the middle number in an ordered list of data. So if I were to put this one in an ordered list, it says if the median is 88, which number could R be? Okay, so let me start with the smallest numbers. 86. Got another 86. I have a 88. I have a 91, 94, and 97. Now that's the actual list with all the numbers. But I would also need to include R somewhere. So I don't know where R goes right now. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to substitute in these numbers to see which one would make the median 88. So if I were to do that for the 92, my data set would look like this. 86, 86, 88, 91. And again, I'm just copying this data set that I have here. But now I'm thinking, all right, if R is 92, let me put in 92 next, because 92 is less than 94. And let me see if that gives me a median of 88. Let's check it. So in order to check for the median, this one's going to cancel out with that one. 86 cancels with 94. 88 cancels with 92. And my median, if I put in R is 92, my median would be 91, not 88. So I know that that can't be correct. If I want to just verify my answer, I'm going to go ahead and substitute in 87 for R. My data set would look like this: 86, 86, 87, 88, 91, 94, 97. 86 would cancel with 97. 86 would cancel with 94. 87 would cancel with 91. And look, I'm just left with one middle number, which is that 88, which is the value of R. Okay, again, we did one like this. Just want to do one example with decimals and where you have to round. It says, what is the mean? If the answer is a decimal, round to the nearest tenth. So again, it says if it is a decimal. So to do this problem, you're going to add up all of these numbers and then divide by how many numbers there are. Well, first, let me count how many numbers there are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so there's 11 numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and use a calculator here to add these all up. 4,516 plus 4,498 plus 4,507 plus 4,521 plus 4,533 plus 4,517 plus 4,522 plus 4,513 plus 4,502 plus 4,527 plus 4,539. That gave me 49,695. We're going to divide that by 11. Okay, my answer that I get is 4,517.72. Again, it said rounded to the nearest tenth, so the 2 tells the 7 to stay the same. So 4,517.7. Okay. All right, so just be very careful about those, especially when you have all of those numbers entered in your calculator. It's very easy to type something in incorrectly. So just be careful about that. Okay, good luck.